All right, I'm on the ground because I'm going to demonstrate the hip thrust and the technical aspects of setting the hip thrust up, because if it's done incorrectly, you can load up your quads quite easily, or you can hurt your lower back, you can load up your hamstrings. So, it's important to get the positioning of your feet and your body right before you even lift. And by doing that, you're going to ensure that you've got full engagement of your glutes. You're always going to get a little bit of hamstring just because there's a tie-in factor there, but you want to make sure that the technique is adequate and paramount to the success of the lift. So let's demonstrate. So I'm going to use the decline bench. Okay, so I'm using my decline bench as my point of contact for my back. Okay, now when I set up my hips and my feet, I want to make sure that my feet are parallel to my hips. That's the first starting point. Second point is when we lift, we want to make sure that we've got a right angle through our knee. So if I lean back, press against the bench, up, I've got that right angle there. Okay, now because I'm on a decline, it looks like I'm not getting the correct elevation, but that's all right. If I go further up the bench and correct that, further elevation, and straight away I can feel my glutes. Now, if your feet are too far away like this, straight away, you're further away, which means the low point goes from here to here, and I can feel my hamstrings. The alternative is if you're too close and you're pushing your knees forward, straight away I can feel my quads. So there's a very fine line to getting it right. You've got to get that point of contact right where you've got that right angle on your knee. The other thing is, if you still feel your lower back, always make sure your head is forward. Chin on chest, so that it's all through the glutes. Don't be throwing your head back like that. And the second thing is, if you need to adjust, because everyone is different, everyone's limbs are different, they're different lengths, go for a wider stance or rotate the toes outwards. That will ensure better engagement from the outside in, and thus thrusting a hell of a lot better as I'm out of breath. So there's a couple of modifications you can make to suit, but by doing that and finding what works for you will give you the best chance at successfully hip thrusting. Now, the alternatives to a decline bench obviously are a standard hip thrust machine or a hip thrust bench. You can also use a plyo box. The ultimate height is about 30 to 35 centimeters. You don't want to be too high. So a stock standard gym bench, a weightlifting bench, is no good. They're about 50 to 55, so they're too high. So it's hard to get the weight up, set, and then off the ground. So look for a decline bench, a plyo box, hip thrusting station, or even a couple of aerobic steps. Put all that together and you should have no problem doing a hip thrust correctly.